When we talk about spiritual awakening, many people imagine a peaceful experience filled with Zen moments, deep meditations, and a constant state of happiness. The idea is that once we reach this point of enlightenment, everything becomes clear, balanced, and easy. However, the reality of spiritual awakening is rarely like this. What often actually happens is a whirlwind of changes, some of which may seem strange, even unsettling. Changes that go beyond what we might expect, not only on the emotional or mental level, but also physically. Contrary to what many expect, spiritual awakening is filled with ups and downs, moments of clarity followed by confusion, feelings of complete peace, but also of being completely lost. Every step we take on this journey can bring something new and often unexpected. You may feel confused or even frightened by the changes you experience during your awakening, but all of this is natural. Each of these transformations, both internal and external, is part of the process. They are signs that something is being restructured within you. These changes are necessary for you to evolve into your most authentic and elevated version of yourself. That's why it's essential to understand that spiritual awakening isn't about reaching a permanent state of perfection or peace. It's, in fact, a path of constant evolution. And along this path, strange changes can occur, changes that may seem destabilizing at first, but are fundamental to our growth. During the spiritual awakening process, the most visible changes can occur in the body. These transformations can be so noticeable that we often find ourselves looking in the mirror and asking, "Who is this person?" Changes in facial features, weight, posture, and even the energy we emit can be so drastic that others, seeing us after a while, may even have difficulty recognizing us. However, these transformations are manifestations of a deeper process. The body, in its wisdom, is releasing stored traumas and dense energy accumulated over the years, often without us consciously realizing it. What happens is that as you go through this journey of self-awareness and healing, the body starts to react. It adapts, reorganizes, and purifies itself in unexpected ways. These physical changes are a sign that your body is adjusting to a new frequency, preparing to accommodate the expansion of your consciousness. The body is incredibly intelligent and often knows exactly what to do to release what no longer serves your evolution. So, instead of fighting against these changes, it's essential to trust this process. What may happen, for example, is a sudden weight loss. Even without following drastic diets, the body may start to lose weight. What happens is that by releasing emotional weight and energies accumulated over time, the body also begins to rid itself of physical retention, such as excess water or fat accumulated due to stress, unresolved traumas, or limiting beliefs. During this process, you begin to realize that you are releasing not just physically, but also emotionally, all the dense energy accumulated over such a long period. This dense energy, often carried for years through limiting beliefs or traumatic experiences, begins to be processed, and this directly reflects on your physical appearance. This is the reflection of a deep inner change. The body responds to emotional and spiritual changes just as the mind and spirit do. Sometimes the body's response may be temporary, such as weight gain due to water retention during the energy transition, but this phase will soon give way to the release of energies and a renewed balance. The most important thing is not to get attached to the surface of these changes. When you begin to notice that your body is transforming, trust in your body's natural intelligence. It is doing the healing work that often your conscious mind cannot even perceive. Instead of trying to control or resist, we must learn to flow with the process. Accept the changes, knowing they are part of our growth. Trusting the process is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. As the spiritual awakening process progresses, One of the most notable and often surprising changes is the transformation in the eyes. We're not just talking about a simple change in physical appearance, but a transformation that goes far beyond that. The eyes, as the windows to the soul, begin to reflect the deeper internal changes. As I mentioned earlier, when someone undergoes a spiritual awakening, something happens in their energy field. The dense energy accumulated over the years begins to be released, and with it, the emotions and traumas that have been stored inside us. During this process, the eyes can become brighter, more alive, almost as if they were waking up from a long sleep. The brightness in the eyes can be interpreted not only as a physical change, but as a reflection of the purification occurring at a deeper level. These changes in the eyes are one of the visible signs that the inner work is being done. When you begin to release emotional and energetic blockages, the clarity that arises is not only mental, it permeates the entire body, and this includes the eyes. The color, intensity, and liveliness of the eyes may change, sometimes subtly, other times more strikingly. What stands out is that the eyes begin to convey a powerful energy. They express authenticity, peace, and a direct connection with the person's essence. The brightness, liveliness, and clarity that arise in the eyes are one of the most beautiful ways to witness someone's evolution during their spiritual awakening. This phenomenon is a direct consequence of the healing of traumas we carry, all the unprocessed memories, past pains, and limiting beliefs we've created over the years. When we begin to free ourselves from these burdens, a true cleansing occurs, and this cleansing reflects in the brightness our eyes begin to exude. The gaze becomes more alive, more profound, and there's a sense that when looking at someone who has gone through this process, you are looking directly into their soul. This happens because when someone goes through a deep spiritual transformation, the energy around them becomes clearer, lighter, and purer. And the eyes, as mirrors of the soul, begin to reflect this internal clarity. You realize it's not just the gaze itself, but the intensity of the energy that emanates from it. No longer are there dense layers of hidden fear or pain. It's as if it's a direct reflection of the serenity and understanding gained throughout the spiritual journey. When we cleanse and realign our energies, we begin to manifest a more authentic version of ourselves, and the eyes become the mirror of that authenticity. It's no coincidence that it's said that when looking into someone's eyes, you can see their true essence. They reveal what cannot be spoken, what cannot be expressed in words. But spiritual awakening is not just limited to external or physical changes. It deeply touches who we are at our core, altering our perception of ourselves and the world around us. And one of the most powerful and, at the same time, unsettling transformations of this process is the dissolution of the ego, a phenomenon known as ego death. The ego, that set of beliefs, identities, and defenses that shapes our perception of who we are, begins to disintegrate during the awakening. This doesn't mean that the self disappears, but rather that the identity built throughout life, with all its limitations and false beliefs, starts to be questioned and dissolved. This process is often uncomfortable because it challenges us to let go of how we've always seen ourselves and the way we've built our life and relationships. During this ego dissolution, the personal identity undergoes profound changes. What once seemed like a solid and well-defined version of oneself starts to crumble, leaving a temporary void. The feeling of not knowing who we are anymore, or not understanding our place in the world, can be overwhelming. Many people going through this process experience moments of insecurity and disorientation. The old identity, rooted in past experiences and limiting beliefs, begins to crumble, and it is in this moment that the true process of self-discovery begins to unfold. This is when we begin to question the foundation of our identity. It is when we realize that what we thought was our identity no longer reflects who we truly are. The feeling of losing this part of ourselves can create deep confusion. Thoughts like, who am I now if I'm no longer that person who always defined himself by his external achievements, begin to surface. The feeling of loss is real, and it's a challenge to deal with this internal transformation. However, it's important to understand that this process of ego death is essential for spiritual growth and evolution. When the ego dissolves, it opens up space for the true essence of being to manifest. It's not about losing your identity, but about allowing a more authentic version of yourself to take shape. Resistance to this transformation is often what causes the discomfort. When we learn to accept the changes and trust that we are being guided to a more truthful version of ourselves, the process becomes smoother. This momentary void, this feeling of being lost, is just a phase. It's temporary and necessary for something new and more aligned with our true nature to emerge. So, if you're experiencing this sense of disconnection from who you were before, know that it's part of a process of cleansing and liberation. The old self was tied to limiting ideas and behavior patterns that no longer serve the new path you're walking. It's a normal process, and though it may be challenging, it's also a sign that your awakening is happening in a deep and transformative way. And during this journey, your identity will not be lost. It will be renewed and strengthened through connection with your deeper essence. The ego, with its limitations, gives way to a more expansive and authentic version of who you are. With spiritual awakening comes a new perception of the world around us. As the inner journey deepens, both physical and energetic sensitivity begins to expand, revealing dimensions of reality that were once hidden. The first sign of this heightened sensitivity is usually the perception that you feel everything more intensely. Emotions, both your own and others, become more apparent. You may notice someone's joy even before they smile, or sense another person's discomfort without a word being spoken. In many cases, this ability to sense the emotions of others expands to such an intense level that it seems almost impossible not to absorb the vibrations of the environment you're in. This can be both a blessing and a challenge. Feeling the world so deeply can be overwhelming, especially if you're not yet fully aligned with your own energy. As you become more sensitive, the work of clearing and balancing your own energy becomes even more crucial. The emotions of others and the energies around you don't disappear. They are always present. But as you deepen your connection with awakening, your energetic perception also expands. The opening of chakras, those energy centers located throughout the body, plays a vital role in this process. As the chakras open, your ability to feel and perceive the energy around you grows, increasing your spiritual awareness. This increase in perception is not limited to human emotions. You also begin to sense energetic flows in environments, situations, and even in the objects around you. Where everything once seemed static or inert, you can now feel an energetic dynamic, a pulse. The energy of a room, a meeting, or a conversation starts to be felt more clearly. This new level of perception can be revealing, allowing you to see beyond appearances and understand the invisible forces that shape reality. However, this sensitivity, if not well managed, can become exhausting. You may feel overwhelmed by the emotions and energies you begin to absorb, and this is where the practice of discernment becomes essential. The goal is not to block or ignore these energies, but to learn how to manage them in a healthy way. This process involves setting energetic boundaries, strengthening your ability to discern which energies you want to absorb and which you need to let pass. It's a practice of self-awareness and self-care, as by understanding what's happening around you and within you, you can transform this sensitivity into a true superpower. Instead of seeing this sensitivity as a weakness or burden, start to see it as a powerful tool that can provide you with a deeper view of reality. When you learn to use this sensitivity in a balanced way, it becomes an ally in your process of self-discovery and in enhancing your perception of the world. You can use this superpower to form more authentic connections with people, to identify opportunities that would have previously gone unnoticed, and, above all, to live in a way that's more aligned with your true essence. As you progress in spiritual awakening, the intensity of the energy circulating within you begins to increase. This acceleration of energy doesn't just affect the emotional or spiritual planes, but also influences the manifestations you attract into your life. The manifestation process, which once seemed slow or distant, begins to accelerate. This happens because, as your energy intensifies and purifies, you begin to align your thoughts, feelings, and actions more effectively with what you wish to create. The energy you emit becomes more powerful and, as a result, attracts outcomes with surprising speed. However, like everything in life, this acceleration has two sides. Good things begin to come more quickly, but so do challenges and obstacles. To illustrate this change, let's use a simple analogy. Think of your energy as a train. In the beginning, you may be traveling with a freight train, heavy, slow, burdened with obstacles, limiting beliefs, and unresolved traumas. This freight train, although it's moving, can't reach high speeds because it's overloaded. With the process of purification and energy acceleration, this train starts to transform into a bullet train. Now, your energy is lighter, more fluid, and much faster, allowing you to manifest your desires and intentions much more efficiently. However, with this speed comes an increase in the intensity of the processes. When your energy begins to move more quickly, changes happen more immediately and often unexpectedly. This means that while you may begin to manifest good things more rapidly, you also start to face challenges more intensely. Unprocessed emotions, old traumas, and emotional triggers may arise at a startling pace. Problems that once seemed distant or postponed now come up forcefully, demanding immediate attention. This increase in emotional intensity and challenges is not a sign that something is wrong. On the contrary, it is a reflection of the energy acceleration. By releasing denser energies, the body and mind begin to quickly process the blockages that were previously hidden, and this, in turn, opens the path to greater clarity and lightness. The secret to dealing with this acceleration is learning to flow with it without resistance. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the rapid changes and challenges that arise, try to see them as opportunities for growth. The acceleration of energy is a call for you to deal with what's being brought to the surface, consciously and courageously. By doing so, you not only accelerate your manifestations but also strengthen your ability to navigate changes with balance. And with this comes one of the most transformative changes, the increase in spiritual clarity. This clarity is not just about seeing the world more clearly, but about perceiving reality in a completely new way. What once seemed confusing, blurred, or distorted now reveals itself in sharper detail, like a window being cleaned, allowing the light to enter and illuminate the true essence of what you are observing. This analogy of the dirty window is quite fitting to illustrate the clarity process that happens during awakening. Throughout life, our perception of the world is filtered by layers of experiences, beliefs, traumas, and unresolved emotions. These layers form dirt on the window of your perception, obscuring the true vision of reality. When you begin to clear your energy system, release traumas, and balance your chakras, these layers begin to disappear. Gradually, the window of your perception becomes more transparent, allowing you to see the world with greater clarity and precision. At this point, your intuition, which was once muffled by distractions and dense energies, becomes sharper. You begin to perceive people's intentions more easily, picking up on nuances that you once missed. This increase in perception goes beyond words and actions. You begin to feel, with growing intensity, what lies behind what is said or done. If someone is being sincere or deceitful, you can perceive it more clearly. The energies surrounding people, environments, and situations become more evident, as if you've developed a sharper vision of the energetic field around you. This enhancement of spiritual perception also influences your understanding of larger systemic structures around you. You begin to perceive the invisible dynamics that govern social, political, and economic systems, seeing more clearly the forces that operate beneath the surface. It's not just about seeing what's in front of you, but understanding the interconnectedness between everything around you, connecting the dots of a reality that once seemed fragmented. This clarity is undoubtedly a powerful skill that arises with spiritual awakening. By clearing energetic blockages, you unlock your ability to perceive the world in a deeper, more authentic way. What once seemed confusing or meaningless now aligns more clearly, allowing you to make decisions with greater confidence and wisdom. At the same time, this ability increases your connection with your true essence, helping align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with your deeper nature. And in a world so full of distractions, this spiritual clarity becomes one of your greatest sources of guidance, helping you not only understand the world around you, but also understand yourself. This clarity is a gift that naturally arises as you progress on your spiritual path. As a result of this clarity, you begin to navigate life with more wisdom and discernment, seeing beyond illusions and living in a way that is more authentic and aligned with who you truly are. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.